Good morning, Levant Basin cruisers. It's time for everybody to give us your distance waypoint again. Two-step.
We're sailing main and jib at about 6 knots.
Thanks very much. Dakari.
Same distance at 0.6 of a nautical mile.
79.1, you copy?
Traveling in company with 11 other yachts representing Western nations, the adventure has begun, as this summer we explore countries of the Middle East that border the Mediterranean Sea.
And right now we're doing 6 knots, Janiger in the main, and everything's okay.
We're sailing under the name of the Levant Basin Rally, and this week, with the port of Lattakia in Syria as our base, we'll explore the ancient city of Palmyra, learn how to handle a desert sandstorm, investigate the latest technology for receiving weather at sea, and in Damascus, the vibrant capital of Syria, we'll experience the passion and spirituality of the many faiths that have coexisted in Syria for centuries.
I wanted to break away to see the world.
I longed for excitement, the romance of travel.
So we built a boat.
And now we travel the oceans. Join us as we voyage to distant shores.
The fleet of the Levant Basin Rally banded together in May on the south coast of Turkey in Finike, where we set sail for Cyprus, making landfall in Lattakia. Our next stop was Gerney, in the occupied territory of North Cyprus. After anchoring briefly off the Karpash Peninsula, the fleet made a day sail to Lattakia in Syria. Avoiding the threat of a developing waterspout, we arrived safely in Lattakia in early June. We received a warm welcome, but faced bureaucratic difficulties.
The thinking is that if you are an American born in Palestine, you are a security risk for Syria.
Our fleet doctor has had his visa revoked for political reasons.
So confined to the marina, Salah stays behind while the rest of us set off to see more of Syria's diverse countryside. This week, leaving Lattakia, we'll be visiting the desert oasis of Palmyra, the mountain village of Malula, and the capital city of Damascus, where we'll explore the temples and souks here. But our first stop will be near the city of Homs to see Crac de Chevalier. This medieval castle guards the only pass between Antakya, Turkey to the north, and Beirut, Lebanon to the south. It's the world's best preserved Crusader castle. The inner wall is raised on a glacis, a smooth artificial slope, so that if the outer walls are penetrated, it is a difficult task to breach the inner fortress.
The castle is so well designed that the very small number of knights could hold out against their attackers for months, and it looked like the Sultan wasn't going to be able to take the castle when he came up with the bright idea to forge a letter from the knight's commander telling them to surrender. They fell for it, and the castle was handed over to the Muslims!
Archaeological studies suggest that this site may have been occupied by the Egyptians in the 13th century BC during their battle for Syria with the Hittites. The Crusaders took over the fortress in 1144 AD and completely rebuilt it into this formidable castle that housed a garrison of 4,000 men and survived 2 major Arab attacks in the late 12th century. This long inner passage was protected by 4 gates, and the broad sloping steps were designed so the garrison's horses could enter here.
The most impregnable castle in the world, a very small number of knights, less than a few hundred, were able to hold out against the besieging army.
By the 13th century, interest in the Holy Lands dwindled, And during the Crusaders' final battle against Sultan Bayabar in 1271, there were only 200 rather isolated and discouraged men minding the fort. Surrender and safe passage to the sea probably looked like good options.
Leaving Homs and Crac de Chevalier, the fertile coastal plains dissolve into barren desert landscapes as we approach what remains of a once powerful desert empire. Just before the sun sets, we climb up the hilltop citadel to take in the view overlooking the majestic ruins of the ancient trade route city of Palmyra, ideally situated on this perpetually water-fed oasis.
I tried to come to a country without any preconceived notions or expectations. I like to experience things just as they unfold and happen. I find in life that's one of the treasures and gifts of life.
And then something strange begins to unfold.
Look, do you see?
What is it? What is it? Sand or
Yeah,
dust?
sand. He's coming from far away to here to change the Palmyra.
What should we do?
Do you see the Hawaii says?
Yes.
There? Look, it's a black one. He will do it, a white one.
Okay, and what
Because
should we
he's
do when
clean.
it hits?
He's
What should we
clean.
do when it hits us?
Where is he coming?
Yes.
With your t-shirt, do
Yes.
like that, and just like that, do it.
Yeah.
Just cover your
And
face.
you will fly.
And then we fly?
No.
We don't
Just
want
we
it.
will problem. If you do like that, it's a problem to your face.
Right, because it's not good
Yeah,
to breathe
for
it
you,
in.
no good. And your glass, you will be problem.
Oh, our glasses will get all covered?
Yeah, we can get up you, but
Can it really hurt you?
really.
Yeah, does it sting your skin?
Yeah. And why you don't? You really have a problem for you.
So we should always wear long
Yeah.
sleeves?
Really. You see? Me, I have two t-shirts. Look. You see?
Oh, so you're well prepared.
Yeah. Once I see him, I put it.
Okay, well thanks for the tip.
No problem.
As sailors, we're all pretty good at handling wind, but none of the group has ever faced it in the desert before. The sandstorm moves in fast, and there's nowhere to run, so our little Syrian friend shows us how to cover up Bedouin style.
Hold it, please.
With the technique he demonstrates on Patricia from Yacht Equus, this headscarf should stay on through a hurricane.
Very good.
Now you're happy.
I am happy.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And do you want to drink just like that in your hand?
Uh-huh.
And
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Satisfied we're safe, he heads back to the road to his village. And huddled against the walls of the citadel, we stand in awe at the beauty and power of nature, and as our friend predicted, watch the panorama turn white with sand and dust.
The ruins of Palmyra, or City of Palms, are immense, covering 50 hectares. The opulence of this city, that at its height was home to 150,000 people, can be seen in its temples and the quadruple colonnade that flanks the main street for almost 2 kilometers, ending with a triumphal arch and the impressive Temple of Bel, the only part of the site that requires admission. Bel was the greatest god for the Palmyrans, just as Zeus was for the Greeks and Jupiter for the Romans. The Romans took the city in 130 AD and used it as an outpost against the rival empire of the Persians. The caravans of camels that once came here brought prosperity and wealth to the city, so what better way to appreciate the city's beauty than to explore it by camel? Lying on the trade routes between Antioch and Parthia, Palmyra was the most important caravan city in the western desert in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD.
My first camel ride ever, and I'm very excited.
It's not as easy as it looks.
You will go forward, so don't fall off the front.
Okay.
All right. He's
I
nice.
think he would give me a kiss, but he would take.
Traveling under the arches of the colonnade, there are many inscriptions on the columns describing influential members of the community. Busts of these people once stood on the horizontal projections jutting out from the columns. Silk, ebony, slaves, and dried foods, all taxable goods, were transported by camels here.
This is the way to see Palmyra. This is how the caravans arrived here, so I'd highly recommend trying this.
Unbelievable. If you want to come and visit Syria, this is the time to do it. The people are so friendly, and when you want to come to these incredible ruins, there's really almost nobody here.
The road to Damascus from Palmyra takes you through more harsh but beautiful desert scenery, where there are few signs of life except for the occasional Bedouin camp, which is dwarfed so completely by the overshadowing landscape. The drive to Damascus takes about 4 hours and is also the highway to Iraq. Subsequently, the Baghdad Cafe is a popular stop en route. When we reach Damascus, the capital of Syria, our first stop is the magnificent Umayyad Mosque, the most important religious structure in the country and a site of worship for over 3,000 years. Before you go into a mosque, the women have to be covered, and as a courtesy, they provide these one-size-fits-all cloaks with hoods. So, a little bit different. In other places we've been, just a headscarf is fine, but here, you've got the whole outfit. Of the 17 million people living in Syria, 90% are Muslim, meaning they're members of some sect of Islam, the second largest world religion. Doctrine is based on a belief in one God, Allah, the same God as the Christians and Jews, and surrender to His divine will. Islam was born 1400 years ago by the teachings of Muhammad, considered by Muslims to be the last and greatest of the prophets. The word Islam means peace through submission to Allah. The sacred book, the Quran, was written by Muhammad from Old Testament inspiration and includes Jesus as a major prophet along with Abraham and Moses. We're surprised to learn that the relics of John the Baptist are housed in a sacred shrine in the great mosque here in Damascus and are revered by Muslims. Seems there's more in common between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism than we first realized. While you're here, you can stop to get a blessing at the relics of St. John the Baptist. His head is enshrined here, and many come in sorrow to pray, ask for blessings. We're also surprised at how relaxed it all is. Children are running freely, and although women pray separately from men in the mosque, no one seems to mind that this little girl has decided to pray with the men. Visitors from far and wide are made to feel welcome here.
It's centuries of religious harmony. So we live together since ages, since Jesus Christ and before. And we call it in English, I think, religious toleration or social cooperation, let's say. That's how it should be everywhere on the world.
The long-standing tolerance and respect between peoples of different faiths in Syria is a noteworthy feature of this Middle Eastern country. Christians make up about 10% of the population. Many Christian holy sites, relating to the conversion and work of St. Paul, considered to be the founder of the Christian Church, after Jesus of course, can be found in Syria. 58 kilometers northeast of Damascus, clinging to a steeply sloped escarpment overlooking the desert, lies the tiny Christian village known as Malula. Besides its picturesque location, Malula is renowned as one of the few places in the world where Aramaic, the language spoken by Christ, is still in use. In the Church of St. Sergius, within the town's Greek Catholic monastery, we hear the Lord's Prayer just as Jesus would have said it.
I will pray for you the Lord's Prayer, Our Father in Aramaic. أبو احتي بشمو يجكتش اشمخ يثالي ملكخ شتكني روتشخ اخمل بشمو تشيبا لرعا.
Aramaic is one of the oldest continually spoken languages in the world and was once widely spoken in the Middle East. It contains elements of both Hebrew and Arabic, and it's challenging to learn, but I find I already know the last word of the prayer.
Amen.
Within walking distance is the convent of St. Tekla, scenically nestled in the cliffs at the end of a long narrow gorge. The caves that dot the route were once hiding places for early Christians who could be persecuted for their faith, but today are popular playgrounds for the local Christian kids. Even the children are friendly and welcoming in Syria. These caves do make good hideaways, and the slide this one comes with just adds to the fun. These kids must have calluses where I don't. Nothing like a good ruined slide.
An unusual sect of Islam is the Order of Mevlevi, better known as the Whirling Dervishes. The dervishes are mystical dancers who are inspired by the words of the Quran, which states, "Wherever you turn is the face of God," and during prayer rotate in a precise rhythm to achieve transcendence and unity with God. The dance is a sacred ceremony and is loaded with symbolism. A hand up to heaven and a hand down to earth signifies harmony of the two, with the dancer floating in an exalted state between them. A follower of the Mevlevi order trains for years to perfect this ritual of dance and prayer, overcoming dizziness and achieving power over his body. They can do 20 to 30 revolutions per minute using careful footwork. The dancer's rotating motion represents the many things in nature that revolve: the earth on its axis, the planets around the sun, blood pulsing through the body. Through the dancer's own rotation, he achieves harmony with God and the universe. It's about an hour's drive back to Damascus, where a new adventure exploring the souks begins. I want to take home the scent of Damascus roses.
Try some rose before. This is a sweet little sweet. Yeah.
At stalls like this throughout Syria, you can have custom perfumes mixed for you.
Rabbit. Yeah. This is rose Damas. Yeah.
Damas rose.
Rose, yeah.
With either synthetic fragrances or the real specialty, natural essences.
Rose and violet and lemon, citron. Citron and narcisse. This is the name in Arabic, zambak. Zambak, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
the one you mean.
Yellow.
May I try that?
Yeah. But little strong.
Oh, it's strong.
Yeah. It smells. Oh,
yes, I know, but on my skin, on him it smells better.
Fixative is added so the fragrance lasts longer.
Fix for stay more time in the body, yeah.
The smallest bottles are about 50 cents to $1 US, and a few dollars for the larger bottles like these, depending on the essence used.
Good? Tamam?
Tamam.
You're a big businessman for the perfume.
I am working in perfume before 48 years ago.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
They keep well for a year or 1 week?
Maybe keep 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So I have to use right away.
The natural scents last longer if refrigerated.
Right, please. One paper here.
Make your own label?
Yes, so it's in English.
أهلا وسهلا. أهلا وسهلا. الله يسعدك. This is my friend from Germany.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice to meet you. I spent 10 years of my life here in Syria. I've done my job as a scientific engineer to help Syria to erect a lot of factories here in the country. I'm specialized in the cotton field.
You like it here in Syria?
Oh, I like it so much. If you spend 10 years of the life in a country, it's like your home country. But I'm from Germany.
Sure.
What is it that you like here? What made you stay here?
Especially the loving of the people. The people are so kind here in the country.
We're finding that too.
Yeah. So kind.
Touring is fun, but we're all happy to get back to our boats. There's no place like home.
Oh, hi, Paul. How you doing? Why don't you come on in?
Oh, pretty good. Thank you. We gotta figure out what the weather is for the next couple of days. Figure out if we can leave tomorrow.
You betcha. We got to know what that wind is doing.
Getting weather forecasts is very important to sailors. Cheryl and I receive voice forecasts over our long-range radio, but Dan has got all the latest gizmos for forecasting the weather on board.
The satellite system on the back of the boat actually captures pictures from the satellites as they actually go overhead, and it collects it real time. It's those pictures that the weather forecasters get, and from those pictures they actually create the weather faxes that get transmitted about 6 hours after the satellite passes. Those rectangles that you see on the screen are the visual images that we can download.
So can we take a look at what we're looking at in the next day or so?
Absolutely. So you can get a large geographical area. If you look here right above Cyprus, you can see a little bit more circulation. And you can see from this picture that things are relatively benign. Here in the Levant Basin area, basically there are no real clouds to speak of. By looking at multiple pictures that come down to us on a daily basis, we can actually watch these systems move real time and then come up with a reasonable estimate of when it is that these systems are going to come into our area. But in addition to that, we have the dedicated weather fax. We have a dedicated Navtex system. And then we have a single sideband radio right over here that's hooked up to a radio modem, very much like what you would have at home, in that the radio modem, instead of hooking up to your phone line, actually hooks up to our radio. And via that we can download Navtex reports, so we have a backup system for the Navtex. We can download actual imagery information. We can download weather faxes. We can download all sorts of interesting information that we can use to analyze our weather.
You can even get the actual wind right here too, without even poking your head out of the air-conditioned comfort.
That's right. All else fails, wet your finger and stick it outside.
What's with the swells?
45-degree difference.
You're planning for tomorrow?
Yep. And he's only a quarter mile.
It'll be smaller tomorrow. We can go.
It will be a little calmer the next night, but the jewel of the Mediterranean. What's its name? Beirut is down there waiting for us.
Syria's been a big surprise for me. I expected it all to be just like this, dry land and ruins, desert. But really, it's turned out to be quite a land of contrast. I mean, our first few days, we were seeing fertile valleys, we had rain and mist. So it's been a surprise that way. And I guess because it's our first really Middle Eastern country, I was a bit worried about the security and the problems we might have with passports and visas and things. But the Syrian people have been fabulous. Everyone has been so friendly, just one-to-one in the streets. They try to help you in any way they can. It really is the best kept secret. So if you get a chance, I think you should try and get out to Syria. It is really one of the most beautiful countries we visited, and I think you will find the same thing.